Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today I'm making 4 cards using the December 2019 Flavor of the Month card kit by Scrapping for Less. I'm also including a 5th card in this video, so we have like a little bonus card that I used the banana split package to create. So for this first card, I'm using collection 1 and I'm using sketch number 4. These sketches don't have measurements, so you could just trim down the pieces of paper to whatever size you want. The first thing I'm going to do is trim out the cardstock for my card base. I am going to be making a top folding card, so I just cut that piece right in half lengthwise so that my card base would be 4 1/4 by 11, and then when I fold it, it'll be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that first piece there with the light blue, I trimmed down to be 4 by 5 1/4, so it would have a little bit of an edge of the cardstock color. Trimmed down the bone piece to be 1 inch by 4, and then the heart paper I didn't really measure. I just kind of used some tick marks there and just did what I thought looked good. So I'm stamping out our little puppy with some MFT Extreme Black ink, and I'm also going to be cutting him out with some oval dies. So I went ahead and just found the smallest die that would encompass the whole image, adding him onto this red base. Now these 2 sets of oval dies I have do not work together, and you can tell like that white piece is just doesn't quite fit into that red piece, but really when the card's all together, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just using some warm grays to color in our kitten. Or our dog, I'm sorry. I guess for a moment I thought it was a cat, but it's a total dog. So we're using W4, W2, and W0. Then I'm bringing in a light pink and a light blue for his, the pink for his ears, pads on his feet, and his nose, and the blue for the eyes. And then bringing in a red that is similar to the cardstock I'm using so that it kind of all matches together. And there he is. So now that he is all set, we are going to go ahead and put this card together. So I'm using some ATG to go ahead and add my layers. I want this little dog piece to be down low enough so that the tip part of this oval, focal point will go above it. So first I thought I was going to use this light blue cardstock, which is the snow cone, but it really made my main panel just kind of blend in, and I don't know, I didn't like the way it looked, so I went ahead and grabbed the wild cherry cardstock from the kit, and I was so much happier with that decision. So we'll go ahead and add this, so there's a little border around all the edges, and then I'm going to pop up the image with some foam tape. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab the sentiment. I'm going to stamp that out where it says "Woof, you be mine," because I want to trim that out with a little banner die, like a fishtail banner die. We're going to add it right there. And then I'm going to bring in some of the enamel dots found in this collection. I did not like the way I placed them the first time around, so I went ahead and pulled them off and repositioned them. And then we will work on the inside of the card. So for the inside, I'm just doing something super simple, just stamping my image in the London Fog ink, and then using the other sentiment from the stamp set, this is "I dig you," to put right underneath it. I thought maybe I would try to put that little banner piece on there somewhere, because I just have like one piece of this banner, and it didn't speak to me, so we left it out. So here is card number 1. So moving on to card number 2 with collection 2, I am using sketch number 1. So I'm choosing my pattern papers first. The main panel is going to be the entire card front. I'm not going to have a border on it like I did with card number 1. So I'm trimming this down to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I don't know what I was thinking here on this wood grain panel. I went to cut it and I was like, oh, I didn't check to make sure it was going to be big enough to fit all the elements on there. So I had to use the bigger piece and cut that again. I don't know what happened. So then I'm using this plaid paper where I'm going to trim out a little fishtail banner that will hang right there to the left on that wood grain piece. As you see, it's cut there. I used a really small circle die to cut some white cardstock, and I wanted this circle to be small like it's shown in the sketch. So the only image that fit in there was that little bird. So I stamped the little bird with the envelope in there, and it ended up being super cute and perfect. So then I'm just coloring him in really, really quickly with some blues and a yellow there and a pink for the little heart on the envelope. I did just a tiny bit of shading on the bird. So first I'm kind of using the light blue to outline where I want the dark blue. Then I'm bringing in the dark blue, and then I'll go over the whole thing with that lighter blue. I believe I used B41 and B45 for the blue on the bird. Just adding a little pink to his cheeks because there's an area there that you can color in, and adding a little bit of pink to that heart on the envelope. Then I'm bringing in my C1 marker with a blender pen and just kind of giving that envelope a little bit of color so it doesn't blend into the white cardstock. Now, I don't recommend you use Copic markers to line the edge of your paper like that. You could ruin your tips to your markers. I really wasn't thinking when I did it. I was just like, oh, I just need to add a little bit of color, but I was too lazy to go get my distress inks. So if I were to do that again, I might use the at least the chiseled edge, because I don't ever use the chiseled edge. So don't do that. So now that those little images are colored, we're going to go ahead and put the pieces together. So for this little panel, I've put my banner, I have my image, and then on the sketch it shows like a little piece of pattern paper right above the sentiment piece. So I'm just adding some of that chevron right onto the top of there. And then we'll go ahead and put that all together. Now I do want to use these hearts, but I needed to color them in because I didn't care for the wood coloring on them. That big heart was too big for this card, so I just am using the small and the medium size. I'm not adding them yet because I want to get the rest of the card all put together, and I'll put those on last. I'm going to also be using the multi-matte glue from Ranger, and that does take a few minutes to dry. So for the inside, I'm using that stump that says "You plus me" and the sentiment that says "Would you be mine?" So perfect little Valentine for somebody. Getting a little bit of love mail. Adding some Wink of Stella to the little hearts, and then I will go ahead and add on these wood embellishments. Now this Ranger little bottle I have had forever. It seems to last forever, so it's starting to actually separate. So if it looked funny to you, that's why. So for collection number 3, I made this card for my sneak peek, and I used sketch number 3. And for this card, I wanted to use the arrow stencil that comes in the collection. So I won't be using the stamp set for this card, but I did show you one of the images there in the sneak peek, and I'm sure other members of the design team made cards using it. So first thing I'm doing is I grabbed a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I used the spun sugar distress ink to add a little bit of a pink background to where I'm going to be stenciling. because I am bringing in the Nouveau Embellishment Mousse. This is in the color Powder Blue. So first thing I'm doing is I grabbed my craft mat and I adhered my paper to my craft mat with some ATG and used some painter's tape to hold my stencil down, and then I'm just going over the stencil with this embellishment mousse, which I have just recently started playing with, probably in the last couple of months. I've used it a few times and it's just really fun. I think the reason I don't use it too often is because you do have to let everything sit and dry, and I'm not that patient. I am here because I did want to use it. I thought it was really cool. And I love the way this card turned out. It's definitely one of my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. I did smooth out the edge right there a little bit because once that dries, it's pretty much going to be sticking out. So just wanted to smooth that down a little. Now, the sentiments in the stamp set are not the right ones I wanted to use for this card, just because of their size. So I decided to trim down this piece of paper where the gold edges are, and we're going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to trim the edge off right there because of how I wanted the love to hit the end of that card. I needed to trim that little piece off. And I'm putting one of the flowers that we received in this collection on the end there. I used just a couple of glue dots to add that. And this card is done. Super simple, really easy, and I absolutely love the texture and shine that Nouveau Embellishment Mousse added to the card. On the inside, I'm just adding a white mat as always, and then I decided to trim out another piece of this paper. I really loved this little strip. I feel like I kind of wasted this paper a little bit, but you really have to have kind of that gold edge on it. It's really pretty. And that is it for card number 3. So now we'll move on to card number 4, and card number 4 uses collection 4, which is snail mail. And I am using sketch number 2 for this card. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my pattern papers again. And I know that for the left side of this panel, I want it to be kind of muted, and I want to kind of have a louder, and I'm using air quotes for louder, pattern for the right side. So I have a hard time putting the cards together if I don't have an actual like full panel of cardstock. You certainly don't have to do what I'm doing. You could cut that like light blue with the hearts paper to be just the size you need. But for me and what I need to do to make sure that my cards look the best is I need that full bottom panel. So don't feel like you have to waste all that extra paper. You certainly don't. But I chose to do that. So I'm cutting down this white panel where I'm going to have my image. At first I gave it just a 1/4 inch mat on that red polka dot paper, but then I decided I wanted it to be a little bit bigger, so I cut off another 1/4 inch there. So we're going to just go ahead and stamp out our mailbox, which is found in the stamp set, and I've got the little snail here. He's coming to check his mail. Sees that cute little envelope. And then I decided to add this envelope to the inside of my card. So I grabbed my inside panel and I'm just going ahead and stamping off a bunch of the letters and just adding some hearts all around it just to give that inside a little bit of interest. And then I'm using the sentiment, "You make me smile," on the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in, and then I decided I wanted to add a little bit of color to the hearts. So I'm using some pinks, some purples, and a very light blue, just all the little hearts, just to give it a little something. I'm not doing any shading or anything, just super, super simple. So now I'm going to go ahead and start putting my front panel all together, adding this heart, like the white background with heart over the main panel. And then I decided I needed a little bit of separation between the two. So I just grabbed a red piece of scrap paper, trimmed a little bit of down to give it a little bit of a, separation there. And I was really happy with how that came out. So I colored it off camera and added the little cloud from the embellishment stickers that we received, the sprinkles from Doodlebug. And then I decided to add 3 more hearts because I felt like that was a kind of some empty space, and I already have a lot of empty space below it. So trim down this little banner, put a little heart brad to the left, and then adding some enamel dots, and that will finish off card number 4. So for our bonus card, you don't see too much of the process because I'm going to try to make a shaker element out of this heart, and it was really difficult to do. So I didn't record it, but I did end up doing it, and here's what it looks like. So this is just going to be a very super simple, clean and simple card. Once you could get that, little shaker bit, because that was not that easy. It was really tiny to work with. Anyway, I'm just using the sentiment you plus me equals heart from the sentiment pack, but I do end up cutting it apart. So first I wanted to just say you plus me and then love, but then I decided to add the equal sign at the end. So here you're seeing me just kind of stamp the you plus me where I think I want it to be. Then I'm just going to adhere down my love. And then I decide, you know what, I do want the equal sign. So I cut the stamp again just to get the equal sign. And I'll go ahead and stamp that as well. And even though this is a super simple and quick card, I did want to do something on the inside. So I did just end up stamping Happy Valentine's Day. And in the end, that little heart piece that comes out of that love die, I do end up adding that to the end. You won't see it in the video, but if you check the blog or my Instagram, you'll see it there. And that'll do it for today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you are interested in this card kit, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you'd like to see more and you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. But until next time, everyone, have a great day. Bye.